Hey guys, welcome to this week's local marketing and SEO Q&A session. My name is Eric Schoenfeld with Local Marketing Institute, and I'm very thrilled as always to be joined by my good friends Jason Brown and Ben Fisher. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday, everyone. Good sessions today. We've got a lot of good questions that came in advance. So welcome to all of you joining us live here on Zoom, to all of you who are joining us live on Facebook. Congratulations, Zoom and Facebook started working together again, and we're able to simulcast back on Facebook again. And also hello to all of you listening to us on our podcast or watching us on demand. A couple little housekeeping notes before we get kicked into today's session. First of all, if you'd like to get a hold of Ben Fisher, get a hold of him at steadydemand.com or at The Social Dude on Twitter. Jason Brown, you can find him at reviewfraud.org or at Kaiser Holiday on Twitter. And obviously, you can reach me at localmarketinginstitute.com. If you happen to be listening to us on a recording, please go to localmarketinginstitute.com, sign up for our email newsletter there, join these sessions live or get notifications when the recordings go out. It'd be a great opportunity for you. Just go to localmarketinginstitute.com. Also, highly recommend, if you want to, subscribe to our podcast. All these sessions are put live, not live, but recorded on our podcast afterwards. And I've got some information for you guys on that here as well. About that. And then join our Facebook group. Go to Local Marketing Institute Connect on Facebook. Got a good group of folks out there, very helpful. Jason is our resident spam assassin. He beats down any and all spam issues out there. So it's actually a very positive, very encouraging group that we found to be very useful with that. So hope you can join us out there. A couple little things on the agenda that I want to make sure that we talk about. Next week being Memorial Day, we are going to skip next Friday's session. So enjoy the time off. We're going to enjoy a little bit of time off with our families as well. But I did want to also mention to you, we are going to be releasing the last several recordings. We had a production issue that we finally got worked through, and I'm excited. Next week, we're going to have the recordings for the last several sessions finally available to view on demand. So I want to make sure that we go through those and that you've got that information. As we go through today's session, if you have any questions, pop them into the Q&A button there on Zoom, or pop them into the questions and answers section, the comments section on Facebook, and I'll be monitoring those as well. Guys, you ready to dive on in?
Do it.
Let's do this.
All right, let's dive on in here. I'm going to bring up all the questions we've got. We're just going to dive right into the questions. Not a lot of updates this one. So Ben, I got a good question for you here that's coming from Martina. She wants to know about optimizing a local business website versus doing LSAs or Google local service ads. She asked, for service businesses, which do you think is more impactful? Focusing my efforts on optimizing my website for organic traffic or setting up local service ads?
Okay, this is a good question. So the short answer is, why not both? In order of importance, though, is the way I would do it is I would go ahead and set up your local service ads first. It doesn't take a lot of effort or time to set up a local service ads. It works well with your GMB. It automatically will detect your Google My Business listing and pull in all of the reviews. All you really need to do is pass the background check and provide some information, a headshot. Process is going to take you maybe an hour or so, if that. If you run into some kind of issues, that may prolong it, but then you can start working on your website while you're waiting. So it's not that big of a deal. And then you go in and you start setting up your different service categories, which you have to do, and then you set up your bid. So I would do that first and then focus on your website. Another thing is that's really important here is that local service ads, you're paying per lead, okay? So it's basically you're paying for ads. So it's a one-time type of thing. Whereas with organic and working on your website, you're going to get the longer lasting impact of bolstering not only your ranking of your GMB, but your organic as well, as Eric is showing here. So that's my take on it. JB, what you got?
No, I completely agree. I mean, I always say organic is what's going to pay off in the long run. So that way, you're always going to be set. So, focus on your website and see if you can even get into LSAs. Like not everybody can get into LSAs, and it does take a long time to actually get into the LSAs and get verified and vetted by Google. So, but we know that when you're doing, when you're optimizing your website, those little tweaks will pay off in huge spades very quickly in local rankings for GMB.
Yeah, I also want to bring out, I think, something here that's important. So she mentioned organically developing out her website and local service ads. Obviously, that needs to be combined, in my opinion, with optimization of your Google My Business listing, right? So I would say, Ben, to your point here, get your Google My Business listing, make sure that's optimized so you get this real estate. Get your search, your website optimized as much as you can get some of this real estate, and it also helps you impact some of this up here. And then go for the local service ads as well up here. I mean, get as much screen real estate as you can would be my thoughts.
Own it. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. And then, we put in here a little ad into the chat on the service ads eligibility. This is not available for all business categories, but for a wide variety of categories, it is available. So we're going to try to get Tom Waddington on here some week to talk real in depth about local services ads at some point. So we'll try to dive into that at a later point. All right, let's go to our next question here. We've got... So I got to reorganize. I thought I had 3 screens would be enough, but it's not enough.
Never
Too many screens. JB, this might be a good one for you. What is the difference between direct discovery and branded searches? So this is from James. He's saying in GMB Insights, he sees numbers for direct discovery and branded searches. What is the difference between those 3, especially with direct and branded searches?
Yeah, so branded search is just going to be just that. So let's say you are, a multiple, location business. Say you're a Pizza Hut. So if somebody were to type in Pizza Hut, then that would trigger what they would call a branded search. Now, if somebody is doing Pizza Hut at 1234 Main Street, that would be a direct search. Discovery used to be if people were like scrolling in and out of a map, then your listing would show up, or it was starting to pull in people also search for. Now, Joy Hawkins, a great friend of ours, platinum Google My Business product expert, super smart. So she actually asked Google a whole series of questions on this one. And so if you go to the Sterling Sky, she'll break down what all this information means. But we've also found out that a lot of this information is not completely accurate. So now Google has actually come out with that new, enhanced metrics, because they were noticing that, a lot of the incorrect search queries were actually being pulled in. And so Google has actually gone through and kind of deduped a lot of the fraudulent activity. And so that way, if you're constantly searching for your business, it's not going to feed into that data. And the other thing is, a lot of times, people were able to manipulate this data by buying a bunch of bots and doing the CTR manipulation, and they can send a bunch of traffic to that and make those numbers look really, really, really good, when in fact it really, really wasn't good numbers. And also the other thing with this is, whenever Google makes an update with how they're going to score or track or calculate this traffic, it's only going forward, and so they can't go backwards. And so I remember in July of 2019, July 2018, I think. Google had a big shift, and all of a sudden everybody saw like huge decreases. And I remember one of our franchise clients was completely flipping out because of this change in metrics, and we couldn't convince her that everything was fine, even though we showed her all of this data, because she was looking at that GMB data insight. So you got to take that data with a grain of salt, because it's not 100% accurate. Ben?
Yeah, I mean, so what Jason's talking about is correct. As a matter of fact, I would encourage you to not even pay attention to this data any longer. Like Jason said, it's inflated data. Also, I mean, just to talk wonderfully about Joy again, because she does a lot of really great case studies, is that she talks about in this article about how AdWords data can also be connected can also basically spill into Google My Business Insights as well. So that's another thing that will kind of inflate the numbers. Also, multiple views, things like that there's a lot of problems that are getting kind of fixed at this point. But if you go back there, Eric, I would like to show one thing. Go back into GMB and click on See New Performance Profile. This is what you should be paying attention to. This is all about return on investment and actual data. It's based on unique information. So make sure you keep an eye on this. You can manipulate your time period so that way it'll go ahead and show a year over year estimate of the traffic. If you go back to calls, for instance, or overview, there you go, and select, so go just like double click on April. There we go. Double click. One more. There you go. Apply. There you go. So now you see under calls made, you see the 333%. So this works for any month, which has a full set of data, which, by the way, even though this is near real time, like May is not going to be complete because May is not done. But if you do March to April, then you can still get a year over year. There you go. All right. Next thing is if you go down, you'll notice, by the way, the highlights to things that are ROI. No, go back. Yeah. If you calls, messages, bookings, you can expect probably more things to come here to show here as well. Anything that's really ROI driven. And below that, you have also how people discovered you. This is because people want to know what's the breakdown. Where am I getting seen? What's working for me? Again, ROI. And then finally is you have the queries. The queries are extremely important because this is raw data. It's being built from the log files of Google My Business, and it's coming in unfiltered. So you can see a lot of different opportunity here, by the way, because if you see searches that are less than 15, that means that you should be starting to optimize your website, basically. And so you can bring those searches actually up. That's it.
There you go. Nice. So really bottom line is start moving away from looking at the insights because like you said, this data is actually inflated and isn't very accurate anyway. And really start looking more at the new performance profile because this is much more accurate data and much more relevant data to what people are going to need to see. Is it all right?
Yep.
All right. There we go. There's that one. Good question. All right, let's move on here to the next question here. Okay, here's a good one. Let me tackle this one here. It says, how can I add products to my Google My Business Listings? This came from Lauren. It says, do you have any recommendations for in GMB for a local clothing boutique that also sells products online? Should I create a Google Merchant Center and link it to my Google My Business account? What's the best way to do this? So this is an interesting one here. I may tackle this one if that's okay with you guys. There's multiple ways to get products into a Google My Business listing. One of the ways that you can get products into a Google My Business listing if you're a merchant, especially your merchant selling online, is through Google Merchant Center. So I'll show a little something here. Let me bring this up and do a screen share of this. Here we go. Let's see. Hopefully this will work. Yeah, so this something I created a while back, the local business e-commerce ecosystem. I won't go too deep into this because this was like a whole 2-hour training session on e-commerce for local businesses. But bottom line, if you're a retailer who's selling also online, a local retailer, let's say you're using Shopify. You could use Shopify, you could use WooCommerce, it could be Square, it could be whatever. Let's just say Shopify for the sake of argument. At the core of this is going to be your Shopify system or your store management system there. That is also going to be powering typically your in-person POS system, whether that's a PDA or a register or something like that. But they're all tied together. And typically, you're going to be having your inventory, your sales, all that stuff is going to happen in here. Oftentimes then, like if you're Shopify or Square, then you can tie that out also to your website. So there's an e-commerce version of your website where you can buy things straight off the website. So it's all tied together so that any orders coming in from POS or from your website are tied into your store management system, whatever that may happen to be. Those store management systems, a lot of them have the capability to then also push product out to other places. One of those places is Google Merchant Center. So you can actually connect Google Merchant Center to something like Shopify. You can connect it to other commerce systems as well. And when you do that, Google Merchant Center then can push your product catalog information in real time, pricing and everything out to your Google My Business listing. It can also, by the way, push it out to other places, Google Shopping, and what was called surfaces across Google, the shopping tab, and then even to Google Shopping ads. So, and then as a side note, the same store management system can also push things out to the Facebook ecosystem or even to Amazon or eBay or other things as well. And there was a great discussion in the thread talking about email and CRM systems. Sometimes the store management system also includes your customer management. Sometimes it doesn't. And you could also push purchase data out to your email marketing system. So bottom line, if I'm a merchant, I'm selling online as well, and I want to get those products into my Google My Business listing, I would definitely look at trying to set that up more of an automated process where you're using Google Merchant Center tied into your store management system. And then that is driving products on your Google My Business listing. And then that can also drive other things that you may want to do across the Google ecosystem. So hopefully that helps a little bit on that front. Might be fun if anybody's interested in to go a little deeper into e-commerce. At some point, we could do a more deep session on that at some point here. But that's hopefully answers that question. Ben, here's a good one. How can you see what API connections there are to your GMB listing? This is from Andrew. You guys have mentioned before about being sure to know what external services are connected to your Google My Business listing. Is there an easy way to see these services that are connected and to manage that?
Great question. Thanks, Andrew. So let me just clear one thing up, and that is that via the API, you cannot see what services are connected to your Google My Business listing. Instead, what you actually have to do is you have to go into, say, one of the managers or the owner's account security settings on Google. You want to share that, Eric?
Yeah, I'll share my screen with you.
Thank you.
There we go.
So basically what you do is there's a really quick way to get here, by the way, but you can go to myaccount.google.com. That's probably the quickest way. Or you could just hop into email and then click on the little thing and then go manage your Google account. So that's number one. Next, what you want to do is you want to go down to security. When you click on security, you're going to be shown this page. There's some information above, but we're not going to show that for security purposes.
I don't want everybody to be hacking my account.
Yeah, we don't want your recovery number, buddy. So what you want to click on is third-party apps with account access. Go ahead and click on Manage Third-Party Access. And now what you're going to get here is you are going to see all of the different external companies, basically, that have direct access to your account. And it tells you which one you usually have as well. But for instance, if you look at DBA, which is probably DBA platform, it says has some account access. And there it is, Google Business Listings.
We can remove this, by the way.
You can if you want to. It's up to you. Go for it. Do it.
Let's just go and remove it.
It gives you all sorts of data, but you can remove it and boom, now it's gone. So anything that basically is like Yext or DBA or Empower Local, et cetera, all these things can push data into GMB. And if you're just not sure, just get rid of them. If you're not using, get rid of them. Anyway, that's it.
Be cautious, though. You don't want to eliminate something that you actually are indeed using and just may not be aware that you're using.
Correct. That's true, too.
So I would just say be cautious of that. Make sure that people are checking that here real quick. Jason, anything else you want to check that out? You want to mention on that?
No, that's covers it.
Elizabeth says we're pretty quick on the screen share. Little heads up, we actually had this prepared in advance from the questions that came in. This is why it's great if you guys can submit the questions in advance. It's fantastic. If you can't, that's okay. We'll take them on the fly, but it helps us prepare a little bit more in advance there. Jason, here might be a good one for you. Is it bad to have multiple domains for a single website? So some history on this particular question. Apparently they own 4 domains for their business. They all go to the same business website, but there's 4 different domains and they all are active and all work and all resolve. He wants to know, is it bad to do that because he was told that having keywords in the domains helps with their search engine ranking, or is that a negative thing and should he consolidate and only use one?
Yeah, I mean, you run into a lot of different issues there when you're running 4 different domains for the same business. So you want to make sure that you're, having, unique content across the 4 domains. You can run into issues with confusing Google for organic results. They may not always show everything, per se, but I mean, ultimately it's better to just have, one website to rule them all, than to try to have, multiple websites, because you're going to have, Google's going to treat each property differently. So you're going to have to go in there and fix it depending on what platform you're running. If say you're running WordPress, you have to constantly go in there and update your plugins or update your themes, or worry about, issues and manage, people trying to leave reviews or hack them. So, I mean, it seems like it would just kind of be, very chaotic to do. And especially if you're doing a business and you're doing, and you have a local business with Google My Business, that could cause some confusions there as well, because then Google's there to say, well, wait a minute, what are these properties? Let me try and update the GMB listing with the wrong website. So I would recommend trying to go with just one website instead of going with the old, spray and pray approach, which is what people used to do like back in the day. So you would have, keyword rich domains, exact match domains. And then Google kind of came in and, and stopped that because they knew that, people were buying, cheap blue widgets and blue widgets for sale, buy blue widget, blue widget sales, all that stuff. And, and basically Google's like, okay, well, the only way that we can, pretty much, stop this is to just completely devalue keywords in the domain name. And I mean, it's still I hear it does somewhat work, but it's not to the extent that it used to work years ago.
I only got one thing to add to that. So that's an excellent part of the equation. The other part is like, if this question is referring to having multiple domains that are 301 redirecting at a single website, in that case, that doesn't do anything. That's a myth. It doesn't work at all.
Right. And I think I'm in agreement with both of you guys here. Choose the domain you want to use for your website and just really invest in that. If you do own other domains, you can, you don't even do 301s. You could do it at the DNS level and have those domains redirect to the proper domains. So you're only managing the one domain. I will share one thing here. So these guys are a CPA firm. They just relaunched with a website of mpa.cpa. Interesting domain. But they used to be Mueller Pi CPA, and they redid that. So what they've done is they went ahead and they kept that old domain, since there was a lot of links out there to it, and they actually had a DNS level redirect to mpa.cpa, but they're no longer promoting that other domain. They're just, this is their domain that they're working on right now. So thought I'd bring that up there real quick. Okay, let's go on to the next question we got here. Where are we here? Okay, Ben, might be a good one for you. Does the age of a Google My Business listing get reset after it gets suspended? It's an interesting question too. Maybe you have some insight as to why that question might be asked as well.
So the answer is, it depends. Normally the answer is going to be no if you've done a reinstatement correctly, or if support has done a reinstatement correctly. The way that you can tell the age of a Google My Business profile is by simply going into the photos and looking at how far back those photos go. an example, worked with a franchise. They had a location which did get suspended. When it came back, we noticed that actually the photos were only about maybe a couple months old. So the rule of thumb is that Google cannot move photos from one listing to another. Okay. So if you keep that in mind, understand that when you get reinstated, if you have no photos or just a few photos, then the age and deed has been reset. It's probably a new listing. The CID is probably also new, by the way, too. Unfortunately, if this occurs, there is no way back. You cannot actually go to support and say, oh, well, you reinstated the wrong listing. It doesn't work that way. I've had other situations where, they've deleted all of the reviews and photos out of what was in the dashboard, but they ended up creating a brand new listing that did have all the photos, which means they actually moved that listing. It became unclaimed. And then the listing that was in the dashboard was actually a brand new listing. So anyway, long story short is if it comes back, it has the photos, has the reviews, the ranking will come back usually in 24 to 72 hours. We've been hearing actually recently the listings are coming back actually same day, which is kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, JB, over to you, bud.
Yes, exactly that. So, we just had a listing that just got reinstated early this morning, and it's already showing back up on Google for their knowledge panel. So, but it used to be, it was taking, 72 hours. But there's all sorts of, nuances that are happening. So, there's a case that I'm dealing with right now where, this listing didn't have any photos. And then as soon as they, got re-verified, their photos magically just came right back into the listing. So which means that, we are not dealing with a new CID, we're dealing with the old CID. Now the thing that we're working on is trying to get those old reviews to come back because they kind of got lost in limbo. But if you're starting if you have to start a brand new listing and have a whole new CID, then you're starting all over from scratch, and you're gonna have to do all this heavy lifting, and it's gonna take months to start ranking the way that you used to. So it's not like instantaneous. And again, with Google, you have to remember not everything is instantaneous with them, whether it's working with support or it's ranking or getting out of suspension or troubleshooting any nuanced issue. It is a painstakingly longer process than we would like. So,
does the type of suspension have anything to do with that, guys? As far as whether the listing gets restored, if there's a difference in what comes back and what doesn't come back, and what the quote unquote age of that listing would be?
On reinstatement. So, okay, type of listing. What do you mean? Like surface area, storefront, or your soft or hard suspension?
No, I'm talking about like soft or hard suspension, or even account level suspension.
Yeah. So if it's a soft suspension, which means Google doesn't trust the account, right? They trust the listing, but they don't trust the account. Then you're going to go ahead and you basically are going to, it's going to get restored is I guess what I'm talking about, right? Except like in that situation where I was telling you where they kind of flip-flopped the listings. But if it's a hard suspension, that's where you have the most danger. So in that case, hard suspensions can absolutely lose everything that can happen.
Got it. Okay, let's go on here. This would be a good one. JB, maybe you want to tackle this one first. How do I fix the located in issue in GMB? So we had two people in the Facebook group this week ask questions. Both Jerry and Carla asked questions regarding this. What it boils down to is, in essence, on Google My Business listings now, they're seeing a listing and it says located in something else, right? So located in the shops on Lake Avenue, or located in this apartment complex, for example. And both cases, the people asked the question said the located in is incorrect. How can we go about changing that? What's the process for them to change the located in information on a listing?
Yeah, I really annoys me, this located in, because it doesn't work properly. So it's very difficult to get. Google doesn't like an absence of value for this, right? So if you're not located in something, you should be able to just do a suggested edit and get it to be removed and just be done. But yeah, there's a lot of cases where once it's been added, it's very difficult to remove it so that it's no longer associated with what you're supposed to be located with. So what normally is supposed to happen, and it works usually really, really well, is you just go directly. Yeah. So prime example. So located in the promenade. Also, if you were to click on the Geek Squad and get their knowledge panel, it would say located in Best Buy. See, located in Best Buy. So, and that's the way that this thing is supposed to be working. Now, when it's incorrect and you've actually been put in, the wrong area, and we've seen case, Joy and I worked on a case where, they were a block away and across the street, and so what you used to be able to do is just contact Google support. Well, the problem is when Google support gets new agents and they hire a bunch of new agents all the time, they are not always properly trained with the workflow and the workarounds and can cause issues, as we're now starting to see. So if that's the case, if your first thing you're supposed to do anytime you have an issue is go to GMB support directly looking for help. Once you get there and they're not helpful and they're giving you the runaround, then go to the GMB community forum, which I pasted the link up on top. Go there, create a thread, and hope that one of us, the lovely, wonderful product experts or somebody with knowledge can actually, you want a product expert because it needs to be, escalated up to Google. So a normal level person won't be able to do it. My DMs are open. You can always, hit me up or, Ben, or ping us on, Twitter or Facebook for help. And then we'll see what we can do to really, get it sent up to Google. But no, I think I'm going to create an issue report on this one because too many people are having issues with located in, and they either can't update it once it's been set, or they can't change, or they can't remove it. So I think this is something that the GMB team needs to, look into trying to fix in the next few months.
Anything to add to that?
No, I just wanted to echo what Jason said there, and that is that look, if support's failing on this and you're having a problem with located in, please come to the forum, open a thread, because then we can, like Jason was saying, he can open up a ticket on this and we can raise it to GMB, but we need examples.
Yeah. So bottom line right now, if you see a problem with the located in function, you've got to go through support to get that resolved. And if you can't get any good results on that, go to the Google My Business forum and they'll try their best to help you out. But hopefully this is something that there's going to be a little bit better, more automated process to help with that at some point, or report that. Good question from John here. John says, hey guys, we have a picture displaying the wrong address on our 360 Street View for a client. I tried moving the pin, but Street View still shows the location 10 blocks away. I've only received automated replies about the Street View app or pin move as a fix. I'm not on location to manually try a Street View app fix. Not sure if it would work. Any ideas? So bottom line, sounds like the pin for the Street View is incorrect.
Well, it sounds like the Street View is incorrect.
Yeah, right? It could be. Yeah, the picture displaying the wrong address on the Street View.
Yeah. So basically the fix for that is going to be very simple. You can wait for the Google car to come back. Obviously, that's not something you want to do. You can use the Street View app, and you can make a globe yourself with a 360 camera or your phone. However, just understand that Google, you cannot control what 360 photo Google is going to use. So I highly recommend doing it at a high resolution, or hire somebody who has an awesome 360 camera, and it'll have a better chance of being picked. Moving the pin it's not enough, basically, I guess is my point. It takes a long time for it to get recalculated. And it doesn't work very often. It's also very hit and miss. But yeah, I would check the pin on GMB, check the pin on Google Maps, and go do a Street View app or hire somebody. JB?
Yeah, no, hire a trusted photographer or shoot a high quality 360 tour. Because when you do that, you can do the interior and exterior. And no, we've actually been able to get outdated street views that were completely incorrectly wrong. So yeah, it was a new development. Google was showing street view of a wooded area, which was like a block away. And then we did the 360 tours and immediately overrode the bad data. So that's the best thing to do, because I mean, it's hard to say when the vehicles are going to go by. Again, they only hit certain states and areas every few years, and so you can't think about, so Google's not going to be mapping the entire United States on a annually basis. So they have to pick and choose which areas they're going to go to, and I'm not even sure if they're even still doing it with COVID and shutdowns and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna share this. Okay, you beat me to the punch. I was gonna share. Joe Danzer is a good friend of ours. This guy is the Street View expert, in my opinion, out here. So check out Advanced Online Insights. He's also a member in our Facebook group, so you could post that out there as well. But thanks, Tricia. I totally agree with you. Joe is great, and any Street View questions, he's definitely the man to go to, in my opinion. Okay, let's go on to a couple other things here. Interesting question from Donald. Do you guys have any insights for advanced verification? My client has been getting the runaround.
Answer is, again, it kind of depends, because it really depends on the category and what part of advanced verification is basically getting blocked. There's a very exhaustive list, like for garage door companies or locksmiths. I mean, the thing is like almost a page and a half long, of the stuff that you have to submit. I mean, indoor, outdoor photos of work, business cards, shirts, blah, 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 which is great. And so that's one piece. The other piece is of course, your Google AdWords account. That's another piece. Then you have the entire background check. Background check is a landmine. It's full of landmines. And they will, however, tell you that somebody has failed the background check. And you do have a chance, I believe it's like within 3 to 6 months, you can reapply if you fail completely.
Right. And this is, again, to clarify, we're talking about LSAs.
Yeah,
we're talking ads.
Totally about local service ads. Yes, because that's the only thing really for advanced verification, unless you're a locksmith and you have to go through AV to get your GMB. I think they're still doing that anyway. But yeah, so with that, it really is going to depend on what kind of quote unquote runaround you're getting. I can tell you this with local service ads that, I'm getting people approved in less than 48 hours usually. Another thing is that you can call LSA directly if the number is in your control panel, but you can call them directly and talk to an onboarding specialist. And the last thing is if you're still getting a runaround from after that, then you can always hire somebody that does LSA work.
And Don clarified that it is about a garage door company. He's been submitting all the data, but each step in submission seems like there's one more hoop he has to jump through.
Yeah, that's very typical for garage door. Extremely typical.
It's one of the areas that's very susceptible to spam. And so I think it's one of the areas that they are very trying to be very diligent about.
Spam in the garage door vertical? Never.
Like spam with locksmiths or spam with.
I would think the stats would be very low with garage door spam there, Ben.
I agree. It's a very low kind of thing too.
But if you really are truly having issues, Tom Waddington, we nicknamed him the LSA Whisperer. I mean, he is really, really good with it. And I go to him all the time whenever there's something, I'm struggling with LSA. So Tom Waddington is also another Google My Business product expert and great friend of ours, and, a really awesome spam fighter too. So go spam fighting team.
Here's Tom's site. You can just go to tomwaddington.com as one of his sites you can go through. But again, he's very underspoken, but this guy knows his stuff. If you're doing anything with local service ads and need any help with that, Tom's definitely your guy. He knows a lot about a lot of other stuff too, but that certainly is one of his areas of specialty out there. All right, moving along here. Here's a question from Kathy from Facebook. Kathy says, I've got a client with several old Google My Business listings that were set up for UPS stores in various cities. I want to take them down. Good for you, Kathy. What's the best way to do that so we avoid getting the businesses permanently closed sign on them?
Avoid getting permanently closed. You should be removing them, killing the listings, or moving them, actually. So it sounds like to me, like if you want to keep these, then you need to move them to legitimate list areas, addresses. More than likely, if you're opening up at a bunch of PO boxes, you don't have enough addresses. You don't actually have enough storefronts or places to actually put up a legitimate service area business. If you do, kudos, then move them.
Okay. JB, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, if you're really truly trying to kill them, to make them go bye-bye so that like they never existed, you can when you're logged out and logged into your own account that's not associated with those, you can use suggested edit as never existed. You can also go to the business redressal form and report them that way. Or here's another thing you can do only when you're associated with the businesses. Contact Google My Business support claiming that you're having an issue with the listing in question, because the GMB team will go and see that the listing is violated in terms of service, and they will go ahead and kindly help you remove that listing.
There's one more thing that you can do. And this is basically get the listing suspended on purpose.
Interesting.
Not going to go into
No, we're not going into that.
One.
I don't know if you want to go down that road. That sounds a little dangerous to me, Ben.
I'm not going to go into details on it, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, Kathy did clarify that she does not want to keep them. She just wants to get rid of them. So I think your advice here was right on.
Door number 3. What would be door number 3, Nate?
All right. Question from Heather. It says, I have a client with a Google My Business listing. It's that then got merged with another business to form a different company. I suggested to change the company's name to the new one, but they didn't get around to it. Now Google has created a Google My Business listing for the new company name that hasn't been claimed. So in other words, they had a GMB listing for the old company name. They merged with a new business to form a new company. She suggested change the old GMB listing to the new name. They didn't get around to it. Now Google's automatically created a Google My Business for the new company. So now there's a new business listing with the new company name, and then there's the old business listing that's still out there. The new one isn't even claimed yet. What in the world should we do? They're both the correct current address. So it sounds like she's got an old listing and a new listing that she's got to somehow merge together.
Easy.
I love it when you guys give a thumbs up and say easy. For the rest of us, we're like, my head's spinning.
Yeah, the key is that the data on both listings is the same. Okay. Or similar. Like if the address is the same and the website address and the phone number are the same, okay, then they can basically, it's a merge is what it is. Yeah. It's a merge. Well, merge or delete. It's up to Google what they want to do. But you just reach out to support and you say, here's my listing. Here's the duplicate. Please remove this one or merge it into this one. They'll probably delete it because it's brand new.
Should they claim the new listing as well, or just leave it as is, show the old one, and they'll see that the data is the same and they'll merge it together because you own this current listing?
Kill it.
Google will not merge two verified listings. So you have to have one that's verified, one that's unverified. Now the thing is they also will need to make sure. Well, yeah, they can easily get Google to just merge those two listings, but ultimately they need to make sure that the live listing they're keeping has a proper name according to the rebranding, and that it matches the signage and the website and all that stuff. But yeah, as soon as they contact Google, they'll be able to merge it. So, but also, I mean, if it's an unclaimed listing and there's no reviews on it, they could just easily just do suggested edit as doesn't exist and just nuke it without having to go to Google support.
Interesting. I want to bring up an interesting question that Nate put into the Q&A. He said, this is kind of an odd question here, but do you think Apple Maps is going to eventually move beyond iPhones and start to do their own mapping on other devices and desktop to compete with Google Maps. He said, I could have swore I saw an Apple Maps van a couple of years ago with a 360 camera. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, yes, it's something Apple has wanted to do. They've wanted to become, the be all end all of data sources and stop trying to pull data from, incorrect and outdated third party, sources. They did say that they were going to start trying to come up with their own review system and stop, pulling in Yelp. But I mean, here's the thing. They keep talking about all the things that they want to do, but push comes to shove, they have not done anything to improve anything, in years. And so, they're still pulling data from Yelp to create listings.
And Bing and others, yeah.
Yeah, and they're getting a lot of, they're able to, get their data updated from passed over from Yext, but it doesn't update correctly all the time, So I was dealing with a brand where for some reason they just took off, the third part of their name. And so we had to constantly go in there and, do updates and fix it. But yeah, it's kind of, I know they want to. I just think that they've got way too, actually it's not evil. There's too many things that they want to do that they don't always get a chance to do. But, it's like every company, your priorities are always going to shift. And so you're always like, well, we want to do this. And then all of a sudden, a new manager comes in and says, no, we want to focus on this, that, and the other. And, my brother-in-law, most people don't know this, but he's an engineer over at Apple. And so, he's been moved to, different products and different pieces of software, as demands change and shift.
Yeah. Apple has definitely said that they want to get into the maps space. They want to develop that out. They want to get in more definitely. But I think Jason's right on. Right now, they haven't put the focus on it. At the end of the day, Apple's still really a hardware company to a great degree, but they certainly have aspirations for moving there. They have aspirations to compete with Google on the search space too, in general. But until we see something, Apple is still important. There are a ton of devices, and Apple Maps is still the default, and it's still used 4-to-1 over Google Maps on iOS devices. So claim it, optimize it. Don't worry too much about it would be my advice on that. I don't know, Ben, if you have any thoughts on that either.
No, I mean, I think it's the same. I personally hope they don't, because the data is so bad when it comes to Apple Maps. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, and Apple Maps, as Trish pointed out, does power Siri as well. I found actually an interesting chat with the folks at Alexa earlier this week, and I find that when you talk about the voice search stuff, it's more voice search stuff with local is not so much about discovery as it is about trying to connect with a business that right? You're driving or you're going somewhere and you're saying, and you say, hey, give me directions to so and so, call so-and-so business. So just making sure your data is accurate would be a really great way to do that. Let's go down here. Here's a good question from Jeffrey. I have a question regarding rebranding a GMB listing. If someone searches for the old business name after we've rebranded the Google My Business listing, will the newly branded listing appear?
The short answer is yes.
So if I went from ABC Plumbing to Northern Colorado Plumbing, and someone did a search for ABC Plumbing, will Northern Colorado Plumbing's listing come up?
Yeah, it all depends really on the prominence of the listing. So how long has it been around? How many, basically, how strong is it for the branded search? When you move over to a new one, I mean, we see this like with practice and practitioners all the time. But when you move over to the new one, then it should still trigger for at least a little while for the old name. JB?
Yeah, definitely. And as long as you've also went in and you updated all of your citations too, and that way you've sent all these signals to let Google know, look, this is who we were and this is who we are now. Because I see it all the time where people will add that old business name to their GMB, thinking that that's what needs to be done. And so it'll be previously known as, Tripod Consulting, and that's actually a violation of the terms of service, and Google doesn't want that. But Google usually is really, really good at picking up these changes a lot quicker these days.
Yep. Yeah, a little follow-up on the Apple Maps. Regarding Apple Maps, why is it so hard to claim your listing? Is there any workaround other than phone call verification? I've seen this before where the phone number has actually changed from what's in the listing. And getting in to actually talk, you think getting in with Google support is difficult? Try getting in with Apple support or support for Apple Maps. Just a little note, the only way that we were able to actually do that was we went to the data providers, the core data providers that are out there. In this case, I think Apple was pulling from Foursquare. We made the changes because Apple was pulling its data from these other locations, from these other data providers. So we made the changes at the core data providers. Apple then eventually updated the phone number. And once Apple updated the phone number, we could then do the phone verification. Real pain in the butt. I think let's go back to Jason's point. Apple has these aspirations for wanting to do maps and wanting to have local businesses, but they're just not putting the money and effort into it at this point. If they ever do at some point decide to get serious about it, I think they could be a serious contender. But right now, it's not at prime time, in my opinion. I like Apple Maps, but there you go. There we go. Let's kind of push this here. We're going to get into lightning round here. Okay, guys?
Do it.
All right. From Dynasty, I have a company with 2 separate locations in 2 separate verticals. They've got different websites for each, and both offer services at both locations. Is it better to use one listing or one at each location? Not sure if I follow this question.
I do. Short answer, you have 2 businesses, again, hopefully legit, at 2 locations, hopefully storefront. Then yes, you have 2 GMB listings. So Now if it's a service area based business, the answer is different. Because a service area based business, it should probably actually be just 1. But it's kind of a depends issue, because if you actually have a real location, then you can do it. But there are some rules, like service areas, basically.
Got it.
Yeah. Anything to add, Jay?
Nope.
All right, moving on. From Susan, I have a client whose GMB profile does not have a services section. How do I get that fixed?
Short answer, you can't. Usually it means that it was an old listing that Google hasn't rolled that out to, but I know Google is looking into making sure that that's going to be pushed out across the board. If you do not see it, I'd say by like middle of July, then you can definitely come to the Google My Business Community Forum and we can try to escalate it up. But I know that not all listings have services yet.
Got it. All right. Steven says, one of our favorite topics, guys. In other groups, I'm seeing a lot of talk about a concept called stacking. I'm not sure what this is, but it sounds gray. What is it? And is it indeed gray? By gray, I think you're talking about gray hat.
Stop. Full stop. Stacking is as useful as EXIF data and renaming your images and all the other silly things that people do for GMB. Just don't do it. Don't waste your time. JB, have fun.
Yeah, it'd be a lot quicker and easier just to take out a wad of money and throw it in a barbecue pit and light it on fire. Don't do it.
Bottom line, guys, again, if you're not familiar with what Google stacking is the theory that if you build a bunch of different backlinks on all these different Google properties, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Maps, YouTube, Google My Business, whatever it may happen to be, and you link all those things together, it's going to improve your local search visibility. There has been no real proof of that. Actually, when we've seen examples of people saying it works, what they're really doing is they actually started with a business that just didn't have a good presence to begin with. they're like, oh, look, all this Google stacking worked. No, you actually just did the fundamentals of what you should have been doing anyway. So bottom line, there's a lot of folks out there that are trying to sell a lot of snake oil because they're trying to sell you their programs or so their training stuff, whatever it may happen to be. Google stacking's one of those in general. Just do the fundamentals, do them well, claim, optimize your business. It's going to do a whole lot more for you, in my opinion. All right, that's Google stacking for you. John says, is there a new link where people can see if they've received an invite to manage a Google listing? Sometimes people invited will randomly not receive an email. And even under the link to brand accounts doesn't seem to list them. So in other words, is there a place you can go to see what listings you've been invited to manage?
Short answer, no. Short answer is you should be getting an email. When somebody does an invite for you, they get two options. They get the email envelope option. They also get the circle, which is the brand account. So just instruct somebody, use the email option. If you're not getting it, that's a different scenario. That's more intermittent than anything else. Just try another account.
There you go.
Yeah, that's usually it. And one thing that you can do to try to bypass that is just create a location group, and then you can give them that location group number when you click on settings, and then that way, as soon as they do it, it's instantaneously brought in. So that way, you don't have to sit there and accept the invitation, and it speeds up things so much faster for everybody. But yeah, there is some weird glitch, and people have been saying, I'm not getting the invite. So somebody sent me an invite and I don't get it, or I sent it to somebody and they didn't get it. So yeah, I mean, it's Google.
Yeah, I'll add one thing, and talking about location groups, using the agency control panel helps streamline all of this stuff. Because, in this case, you are giving a group ID or an ID for the actual agency control panel itself. And, it records it right in the dashboard if it's a storefront, not a service area based business. Also with the agency dashboard, you can make a request, which they'll get an email. They click a button, you get access.
Sounds great. Hey guys, I hate to do this, but we are out of time for the day. Thanks guys for the questions. Really good stuff going on. Jason, Ben, thanks for your time. As always, really appreciate it. Just a reminder, everybody, we're going to take next week off, but we will be back the following week. And yes, indeed, I know the Zoom invitations only went through this week. That was intentional. That same link will work again, and you'll see a bunch more sessions that will come online next week. So thank you guys again. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great weekend, everybody.